Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright guys, Boruto episode 204 spoilers. In this episode I'm going to be going over exactly what's going to happen in that episode, and if you guys aren't necessarily too familiar with this type of video, I talk about this episode in regards to what happened in the Boruto manga. So this episode right here will actually be animating chapters 37 and 38 of the Boruto manga. I'll go over some key moments about those two chapters so you guys can get a very good idea of exactly what happens in this next episode. It's honestly kind of like cheating, to be honest. It starts off with Sasuke and Naruto pretty much sizing up Jigen, but it immediately shifts to a different scene with Sada coming home and basically realizing a bunch of rods in Naruto's front yard, and obviously she's basically seeing there was blood on those rods as well. She's questioning whose blood is that. She also goes into the house and sees Kawaki essentially curled up into a ball, and then it switches to another scene where Boruto has the karma seal on, but then it reverts back to regular, so his karma seal then disappears. But then it quickly shifts to the scene where Naruto is actually attacking Jigen. Naruto has his Rasengan in hand, similar to what we see in the preview, and Jigen, because of the karma seal, absorbs the Rasengan, and then we see the first taijutsu attack from Jigen. Jigen then kicks Naruto. Naruto says blatantly, this guy has incredible strength, and then of course Naruto is impaled with the rods as well. Again, these rods right here are extremely overpowered. It's something that Jigen does very much throughout all of his battles, and one of the things that is super underrated about these rods is that they actually suck chakra as well. So every time that Naruto gets impaled with these rods, they're actually sucking his chakra. Big pause. But regardless, Sasuke then comes in, he kicks Jigen, actually hits Jigen. Jigen goes flying, and then he tries to attack Jigen with his sword. Jigen blocks that and then impales Sasuke with the rod as well. Naruto comes in and then he kicks Jigen. They're not necessarily getting too far, but they are actually landing some hits on Jigen. Naruto then uses the shadow clone jutsu. Jigen continues to press forward. He impales one of the clones with the rods, and then Jigen instantaneously disappears, like completely disappears. Then he ends up right behind all of Naruto's shadow clones and then impales all three of those shadow clones with the rods as well. Now at this particular point, Sasuke is just sitting back actually analyzing exactly what Jigen is doing, and Sasuke pretty much tells Naruto he has a very good idea of exactly what he does. Sasuke then goes on to tell Naruto that Jigen shrinks objects. He also is able to shrink himself. So the rods that he's basically using to impale Naruto and Sasuke, they're already kind of stabbing Naruto and Sasuke, but because they were so small, they barely notice it. When Jigen actually makes them full size, then that right there is also when we really start to see Naruto and Sasuke were impaled, and also the shrinking and the unshrinking happens damn near instantaneously. So right before when I told you guys that Jigen pretty much disappeared, he didn't really disappear. He just shrunk himself to a point where you could barely see him, and of course because it happens instantaneously, this makes Jigen extremely slippery. Jigen then makes a remark. He's pretty much complimenting Sasuke at this particular point. He's basically saying that Sasuke is super smart, paired with the ability of the Sharingan and the Rinnegan. He now tells Sasuke like, hey, you're the person that I have to kill first. He immediately attacks Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke and Naruto, they dodge the attack. They jump into the air. Sasuke tells Naruto he has some more intel about Jigen, but they can't necessarily talk now because Jigen isn't necessarily like a stereotypical enemy. He's not letting Naruto and Sasuke discuss all his weaknesses right in front of him. So they jump into the air. Jigen then instantaneously goes right behind him. While Jigen was right behind them, Naruto uses a giant Rasengan. This right here pretty much absorbs the rods that Jigen was trying to hit Naruto and Sasuke with, and again, that Rasengan right there wasn't necessarily something to actually hit Jigen with. It was more of a defensive technique. We see Naruto do this before when he fought against Delta, and Delta was trying to hit Naruto with the eye beams. Naruto again uses the Rasengan to deflect those beams as well. So Jigen goes at Naruto, Naruto blocks it, Naruto swings back at Jigen, Naruto misses, and then Sasuke gets involved. So it's essentially like a taijutsu battle, 2 against 1 with Jigen, and then instantaneously Jigen shrinks himself again, but Naruto gets the bright idea to try to use the giant Rasengan to actually try to locate Jigen. Of course, at this particular point, Jigen would have to try to absorb the chakra to not actually get hit with the giant Rasengan, and because he's now absorbing the chakra, they now can identify a specific point as to where Jigen actually is. So Sasuke takes out his sword and tries to stab Jigen, but Jigen uses the time space ninjutsu to pretty much slip out of that and go to a different space. So of course Jigen avoids that attack as well, but Jigen actually compliments Naruto and Sasuke here, and he basically tells them like, hey, you guys basically taught me something that I didn't know. At this particular point, he's essentially making it seem to the actual viewers that Naruto and Sasuke are really pushing him. But at the end of chapter 37, Jigen actually enters the second stage of the Karma Seal, where he now has the horn. Now this right here is the end of the chapter into the next chapter. The next chapter is going to be chapter 38. Now at the beginning of chapter 38, there's some dialogue. This is essentially the thing that Sasuke wanted to tell Naruto before Jigen actually attacked him. He basically tells Naruto that he was in the dimension that he did actually go into, and then he's seen the 10 tails. Naruto now understands exactly what Jigen is now trying to do, and this right here is going to be one of the more iconic moments in the episode. Sasuke goes 100% fully perfect Susanoo, and then Naruto takes the form of the 9 tails. So at this particular point, Jigen is now in full power mode, Sasuke is now going all out, and Naruto as well is going all out. And in fact, in the preview at this particular point, Jigen was actually laughing. So Sasuke attacks Jigen with the sword of his Susanoo. Jigen immediately dodged it. He says the legendary Susanoo, its speed isn't all impressive. Well, what about its defense? Here's where things get really critical. Jigen immediately goes right up to where Sasuke is in the Susanoo and one-shot Sasuke right out of the Susanoo. Bro, this is the legendary defense, the most powerful defense we've seen in all of the Naruto series, and this man Jigen is treating it like some tissue paper. And on top of that, by adding some icing, he pretty much impales Sasuke with some rods as well. Sasuke is now on the floor. Jigen is going full speed towards Sasuke, but now Sasuke uses the Rinnegan ability and switches places with Jigen. This right here is a combination ability that he's going to be using with Naruto. He switches places with Jigen and sets up a direct attack from Naruto to Jigen, but it turns out that Naruto actually missed. Again, this right here is probably one of the most slippery enemies that Naruto and Sasuke actually faced. But now on top of dodging Naruto's attack, he impels Kurama with rods that pretty much pins him down to the floor, and then he one-shots Naruto out of the 9 tail. But Naruto, almost as if he plans this, goes right into another combination attack with Sasuke. He tries to hit Jigen with a Rasengan. Obviously, because Jigen has the Karma Seal, he's going to try to absorb that Rasengan, but instantaneously Sasuke, using his Rinnegan ability, switches places with Naruto and catches Jigen completely off guard. And now at this particular point, Sasuke is essentially swinging his knife directly at the neck of Jigen. Sasuke gets literally damn near millimeters away from Jigen's neck, but Jigen blocks that ability by spawning up more rods on the neck of Jigen. This man Jigen is a completely different breed. Jigen then kicks Sasuke. Sasuke goes flying. Naruto is now forced to engage with Jigen in a 1v1 taijutsu battle. That obviously didn't go well. Naruto goes flying. Sasuke attempts to use the Amaterasu. That didn't work mainly because the Karma Seal gives Jigen the ability to absorb chakra, so he absorbs the Amaterasu. But now here's where things get a little bit interesting. We can't necessarily tell exactly what it is, mainly because it is the Boruto manga, but there is a black sphere, or there's a black part on Jigen's stomach, and it cracks. Jigen then says, Jigen's body can't keep pace with the power. I really do need Kawaki. This vessel is done for. So he's essentially speaking in third person, which makes us understand that there is someone else essentially controlling the body of Jigen. But Jigen pretty much says, I have to wrap things up. He pretty much spawns a lot of large rods and impales Naruto and Sasuke and pretty much has them sitting on the rods. Now at this particular point, Naruto and Sasuke, admittedly, they are in very bad shape. Sasuke then talks about how if he expends any more chakra, he's not necessarily going to be able to use time space ninjutsu to get back home. Jigen then lays out his plan. He pretty much says he's not necessarily going to be able to kill Naruto, mainly because it's going to be a hassle because he has the 9 tails, but he's going to try to kill Sasuke right now. And then he dares Sasuke to leave the side of the Hokage via time space ninjutsu, and he thought that Sasuke wouldn't do it. During this time, Naruto and Sasuke are essentially arguing with each other. Naruto is telling Sasuke, you have to go right now, and Sasuke is like, no, I can't leave your side. But of course, Sasuke leaves. Sasuke then teleports into the heart of the Hidden Leaf Village right near Sakura, and Jigen himself is essentially leaving Naruto in this dimension trap. One of the things that was extremely important, and one of the things that was extremely interesting at this particular point, was the fact that Naruto was actually talking mess to Jigen himself, but Kurama quickly corrected Naruto. He said, you need to stop talking to Jigen and not rile him up, because he can end your life right now. And of course, that's exactly what Naruto did. So of course, Jigen leaves Naruto in this dimension and also puts down a lid on that dimension and then shrinks the lid into a tiny teapot. This video is getting long, so I'm gonna leave out a couple of things, but regardless, one of the biggest things that I do want to talk about is that the body of Jigen, Jigen himself started to cry, and then the person inside of Jigen audibly said, "What, does your body hurt, Jigen? To shed tears is pathetic. You're not worthy of being Otsutsuki Isshiki's vessel, you defective failure." So it's essentially saying that Isshiki Otsutsuki right now is the one that's actually talking. But this right here was the end of the chapter. I do want to point out I left out a lot of information about this episode, so if you guys do want to see it, I recommend you guys read chapter 37 and chapter 38 of the Boruto manga respectively. But it's been your boy Baara B. Let me know what you guys think about this next episode in the comment section below. Again, I personally think it's going to be one of the more legendary episodes of all of Boruto, but let me know what you guys think. It's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.